All right, we'll go ahead and call a meeting for March 14th to order. We'll start off with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will start off with the consent agenda. Is there anything pulled?
Nothing for me? Nope.
Nothing for me to discuss. Okay, just need a motion to approve.
I will make the motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
John just checked that.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, next up, any public comment? Okay. Next up, we got department head report, starting off with Township assistants.
Hello. We are starting to pick up quite a bit in Township assistance. I have a lot of checks to cut tomorrow. Otherwise, you saw the report for this month. Based on the questions I got last month, I wanted to make it a little bit more relevant. So I've changed a little bit the makeup of the report. Any questions about that or want to change?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was easier to read as well.
Okay. Great. It will stay like that
then. Any particular reason for the pickup? Is it just that time of year before tax returns and stuff?
The thing I'm noticing is we're not just paying rent, we're paying rent and utilities. So it's more checks per bills than anything.
Okay.
I thought we have a burial, which I don't know that we've had since we've been here.
We have just one or two a year, yeah. But thankfully, Brian's got contacts in the coroner's office, so it's a lot easier. The partnership is much easier when we get rid of it now.
Okay.
Sorry, I just lost track of what I was going. Any questions for Township assistants?
No.
Yep. Okay. Human resources.
Hello. So for the month of February, we had 3 resignations. All 3 of them were firefighters. We had talked about that a little bit in the last meeting. 2 new hires, our fire chief and our new EMS division chief. As far as parks, we sent out 12 more offer letters for lifeguards last week. So we sent out a total of 23 offers. We've had responses from all but 6 of them, so I think that's pretty good so far. Just got an email today that we're rehiring 10 from last year so far. Those are the ones that have passed their recertifications already. We have 3 new camp counselors that are starting next week for spring break camp. And then for fire, we started a lateral application process, which ended on the 6th. They did interviews today and yesterday. So we're hoping to have that all wrapped up and starting the end of April. So for that class.
Okay. What's your goal? What's the park's goal as far as number of, how does the 23?
So total, so I did do that. Total summer hiring with camp and the pool, we are looking at hiring 207 staff members.
We are ahead of where we were last year.
We are ahead of where we were last year, yes. And then they are working on reserting more of the ones from last year. That's an easier process.
Are returning. It's very hard to just get them to fill it out. So
Yeah.
there are more returning, about 20 more.
Yeah.
It's just getting them to fill out a form and send it in.
So are we counting these rehires as new hires?
No.
Okay.
So if we count total, it's
So-
about 65
65 new hires? or-
lifeguards. Sorry, lifeguards.
Okay. That's on 23. How the 23
Yes.
compared to
Yes.
the total goal? It's only March. But
Yeah.
We are way ahead of where we were last year.
okay, good.
And we're hiring more too.
Anything else?
One question, just what the way, and it's something to think about. I don't know how easy it is to do. I can probably give you some of the county data or at least the Avon data. But when we look at kind of our employee mix from gender, ethnicity, all that kind of thing, I think something good for the future, just because it's a lot of discussion around everything. Everything in that way is to have kind of a, hey, here's what our employee mix of
Here's what
generations
Avon
compared
is.
to Avon. Here it is compared to ethnicity, male, female.
We can get
Male,
that.
female is going to be a little bit more challenging, I know. We have that in healthcare. We're
You're quite
different.
opposite.
Yeah, we're exactly.
Yeah, quite
exactly.
opposite of
So,
what ours is, yeah.
so I think that would be just kind of nice to show that we have the same mix of,
Sure.
if it is that way or be
I
aware.
can get that done for you guys.
Okay, no, that'd be awesome. I don't know what you guys think for this.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great.
I think that's good information to have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Parks.
So I just wanted to touch base on some of the things I put in here. I just wanted to give a special shout out to our camp staff for hosting the first ever camp summit. That was very successful. We have a lot of people interested in coming back to that, and so they're hoping to expand that as well. And then, just like most of you know, we were awarded the before and after school program. So I did send you all of those job descriptions ahead of time. I sent you the budget. I'm sure we'll dive into a lot more of those talks as we go on, and we'll update you as the process begins. Our goal is to get registration out sometime in April. That way parents can start doing early registration rates. Then I also wanted to mention our programming staff has worked very hard. We've never had an Easter egg hunt that we have planned at Washington Township Park. So we're excited. We got a sponsor. We're able to provide 10,000 eggs for our Easter egg hunt. We also have our sensory Easter egg hunt that we do every year. And then we're planning our first adult Easter egg hunt, which is the Kegs and Eggs event. And that has been very successful. We're almost to our goal of 500. So we're really excited about that one. And then as you can see in our revenue report, we are light years ahead of where we were last year.
So Kegs and Eggs, 500 people? Nice.
That's our goal.
And I just want to say officially for the record, I know you've sent emails and different things about the school camp, the before and after, but it's a huge deal. They have been with another vendor for how long?
12 years.
12 years. So the work that the Parks Department put in, thank you. We are so proud of you guys. What a great thing. I look at where we were at even just 5 years ago when we started and how much you guys have grown, and to continue to find new opportunities such as this is just a great way to give back to the community. And it says everything about your staff and the work that you guys do.
And honestly, it was great to hear that night, just all the nice things that the board members on the school board were saying about us and letting the staff hear those things. I think that was good.
The community is noticing the good work that you're doing as a whole. So, and I know that you have lots of other things going on that we don't even know about yet. So just keep up the great work. We're really, really proud of you guys.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Okay, next up, slide.
You guys have the report in front of you that's on the screen. Also have some details that I'd like to share. On the resignations, I saw the glancing eyes. We'd like to know where those come from, right? And there were 3, so good news on those. John Schaefer went to the director of the Indiana Fire and Public Safety Training Academy, works under the chief of the fire marshal. Big thing, that's what his specialty was. He looked forward to doing not training just on the fire. He liked the adult education side of it. Now that's what he's doing full time. So this is kind of his calling, and we commend him on going there. And even though he had transitioned out of his position here as the training chief, he continued to put on trainings for our firefighters and medics and be an asset to the department in whatever capacity he held. So going to the state, he had been being vetted since probably November, December. Talked to Fire Marshal Steve Jones about that. So we kind of knew that was coming. They were down to a few people, so congratulations to John. David Rands was the other one. He was a civilian EMT. David is now going to flight school in Florida and getting out of public safety completely. So he's going to be a pilot. So he's following his calling in life as well. So while we look at some of these as losses, these guys have nothing. I don't believe anything negative was turned over in exit interviews, but nothing bad as far as the reason for leaving. The other resignation, if I'm not mistaken, was Mike Smith, aka Frog. He is on a 30-day separation, which is required by state statute. He is retired and departed from the police 1977 Police and Fire Fund. Once his 30-day separation is up, we fully intend on bringing him back on his 31st day, because it's a 31-day month, to work as a civilian medic. So with that being said, he's been looking into that since September of last year, roughly. Whenever we talk about that, a lot of work went into that. So looking at that from September of last year, on a Friday, we recognized an opportunity. So he got a call over the weekend from Deputy Chief Phipps and said, hey, here's your opportunity. What do you think? He was scheduled to work on Tuesday. We're in a class, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, not even in the office. Come Monday, he had some decisions to make. 7 a.m., those two met here and talked. Obviously, that's a huge transition in life. You're leaving the fire service after 26 years. Did talks with him, coming into class that day. We're learning. We're going through our resources. And then the team that we have together with two deputy chiefs, Deputy Chief Porter sat down and wrote the policies out that would apply not only to him, but anybody wanting to transition that way. Not something we see a lot in the fire service where firefighters go to become civilian medics. A lot of times civilian medics transition into the fire service, and that's easy. The other ways got a lot more rules to it, depending on your age and where you're going to work. So he did his part. Chief Phipps did his part. I called Trustee Miller. Got that name right. I called Trustee Miller, and then he and our HR director, Ashley Black, sat down and talked, made sure we dotted I's, crossed T's, we're breaking laws, we're validating, or we're following the state statute and making sure we're accommodating the right things. But again, it's about employee retention. He could have easily left here, went to Brownsburg or Plainfield or anywhere else they had a civilian medic program and start working the next day. But here we just kept that employee. So then they departed, we're still keeping them in-house and rewarding them. And we want to keep them on as long as possible. So when it comes to employer retention, there's different ways to do that. So I appreciate everybody's hard work on that. Along with the separations, I want to announce the appointment. It's been in the news. We had a pinning the other day, but Division Chief Stephanie Weiniger to Division Chief VMS. She started late February 27th. She started in an empty office while we were in class, so we appreciate that. And she's not in uncharted territory. She knew what she was doing there. She was an ER nurse and transitioned into the director of EMS for the county. She's very familiar with everything we do. And she's got early buy-in from a lot of our medics and the former division chief of EMS. They've all been working together, playing well together. Did a class this morning and had buy-in from other instructors as well. So it's been a nice transition. It's been a nice addition to the staff. We did start a lateral hiring process. So we're looking for about 5 spots. Some of those spots already existed when I came in. Others are new because of the recent departures. With that being said, we think we're pretty close to finding those 5 or 6. We had 14 applicants. 10 of them were able to be interviewed based on our criteria. 4 of them didn't read all the directions. So we would get them out really quick. But with that said, we've got some pretty quality candidates, and they've gone from Terre Haute, the east side of town, to the west side of town, or the state. They've been in the county, but a lot outside the county. And we like that draw. We like having that kind of reach. Greensburg, Terre Haute, Decatur Township, we've been pulling from other entities around here, and it's been great. So, and not just stealing from the county. Okay, so there are a couple from the county that we'd like to have, and we'll see how that turns out. And again, with one correction I need to make to the report you have now, said on there that we received approval to bring Todd Farrell as a lateral transfer with the intention of appointing him to the Division Chief of Incident Safety and Fire Training. That is off the table now. He did not reply to the conditional offer in a timely manner, so we're moving forward from that. And so we still have some holes to appoint in the team, and we'll take care of that in short order once the hiring process is over. The run stats, you guys asked for those last meeting. The charts that you received and all that, we'd like to talk about a little further. Right here, these are real numbers, tangible numbers you can look at. January, we were -4. If you look at the bottom of the report on incidents year to date, we're at 606. We were down 4. We came back in February with a vengeance. We're 76 higher than we were this time last year. It's not going to get any simpler. We're going to ebb and flow, but we we know with the addition of restaurants and traffic and mornings like this morning, we're gonna have a lot more incidents we're responding to. It's not gonna be any slower anymore. So with that said, these are real numbers. I would like to have an executive session in the coming months where we can talk about the reports you received before. A lot of that information was redundant. And the problem with that information versus these reports, these are real numbers. You can pull them from dispatch, pull them from our system. The other numbers we can kind of form and shape to tell whatever story we want. And I want to make sure we're giving you guys a real story. So we need to get together, understand that for the administrative staff, make sure we're giving you good information, making sure you know what you're asking for. Okay, so we'll do that as we move forward, and we'll figure out the proper room to do that in.
Before you move on, I do have one question
Yes.
on the staffing and the overtime hours on the report.
Yes.
Is it safe to assume that the battalion and officer overtime is not surprising because we're understaffed at that level?
That's proper statement.
Okay,
It's not surprising.
so that's what you're working on getting taken care of with the transfers. I think budgeting wise, we're probably covered okay as far as that, but it's still cheaper to pay straight time than it is overtime hours or anything like that. So
Yeah, what we have to do is get people qualified. The last officer process had 2 candidates in it. We already have more people than that stepping up wanting to go now, probably to the tune of nearly a half dozen. And there are others that are interested. The problem is certifications and classes. As we get the staff in place and our training division in place, we will be putting those classes on ourselves and providing that opportunity to our people. The lateral process is to fill voids. But with those laterals, unlike we've done in the past, we are bringing qualified candidates in if they're the best candidate for years of service and credited years of service, and we will let them compete with our people in short order on the next process if they're qualified.
yeah, I mean, the process is in place. We're working on it.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying, yes, we've got an issue, but it's already being addressed.
that's correct.
Some of that is a little skewed from the stand. The battalion staffing is primarily those particular hours, also overtime in that there's time frames that you'll see where the vehicle may have been out of service. So you'll notice below it where the battalion was out of service for those. Those were primarily being covered by those of us in the staff during those hours. So it's not necessarily a shortage of coverage. It's a shortage of staff line personnel, operations personnel covering those positions. But yeah, we've identified those as issues and struggles in the work.
Yeah, I'm not worried about you guys covering what needs to be done. That's not the issue. It's just more of, is it indicative of, yes, we've got staffing issues that we're addressing, and so these will start to.
Yeah, in our department,
I mean,
we have
some overtime is still good.
Yes.
Where it gets to be too much is where we start to.
Yes, I guess that's the question I have is what is the typical standard of overtime so that to know the following. Overtime gets over X, that means we're understaffed, or we don't have the staff we need to, whether that's a mix of leadership and frontline, for lack of a better way of saying it. Certainly the way you take that down, and I don't want us to do that either, is, oh, hey, overtime is below the standard, but we're closing stations on certain shifts, that kind of stuff. That's just kind of gaming the system too. So what does that look like? And maybe that's the information.
That's information we got in executive session.
Right. But I'm just,
So many interpretations.
yeah, no, I get that. And I think that's kind of what we just need to understand. I mean, it's good to certainly see because that gives us an indication of.
Yeah, we're not hiding from it. And what you should see is that starting to trend down as we fill the empty seats. Sure.
Yeah.
Right now, you are paying overtime, but we also have spots that are not
This
being
is the first time we've seen these kind of things, so
Yeah.
we got a point in time to start comparing to as we move forward. So that's really what I'm.
To give you a baseline of the standard, I'd have to look at the time we were fully staffed to give you a proper answer.
Yeah.
Probably go back and look and create a trend. But again, right now, what you guys have an accountability level. So you can look at right now, and as we tell you we're fully staffed, look at later and let's see if we made improvements.
Yeah. Thank you.
The other thing that I like to see, the mutual aid given is on here, and I like to see that, and I like to compare it to mutual aid received. So if you can add that stat moving forward.
We will do our best. So the new reporting programming, and that is a difficulty of identifying that because we have opportunities that runs are within our own district where we have people coming in. There's opportunities where it's outside of district and transferring those numbers.
Okay.
There was a report that was generated before, but as the chief mentioned, not all of those reports were accurately portraying the situation.
Okay.
So we've identified that the mutual aid given is a very easy one for us to generate and give you factual data.
Okay.
So, but we'll work towards finding some kind of solution for that.
Okay. I just know because of where we had talked about this at breakfast, because of where we sit and, the center, we're giving out a lot. And we just want to make sure it doesn't get so skewed that we're getting completely overworked and,
Sure.
right.
But it's also identified by the new dispatch protocols.
Okay.
So that's where that number becomes a little skewed. It's runs that we traditionally would take because of the dispatch protocols that are there. So it's not that we're providing a service necessarily to another agency that's lacking.
Okay.
It's been identified as best practice. So that's where those numbers get a little bit transposed. So
And we can talk about that more in executive session too, so we understand that better.
And I do have a meeting on March 28th coming up with Chief Reed and plans at Wayne Township. There's been rumors, and the best way to stop rumors is go meet.
Absolutely.
So Chief Reed and I will be meeting on March 28th here. I'm going to take him around to our stations if he wants to, let him look at our resources, talk about concerns, and then I obviously have concerns with Wayne and some of the plans they have, because we can't just take advantage of location of other departments to plan our own department, assume mutual aid is going to solve it, because we have a community to serve too. So we'll have those discussions coming up.
Right.
Good. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee report.
So as it stated in my report, shortly after coming into office, actually I believe it was just before I came into office, I was made aware that our contracted bank interest rate was going to be expiring. They actually held that previous rate over for us until we had a more opportune time to get together and discuss some options. The interest rates, I'm happy to report, have trended drastically in our favor since the last time we contracted this rate. And the rate that we were able to lock in at is, I would describe as significantly higher than where we were before. So obviously that's a good thing. We've got money in the bank. We may as well be getting the best interest rate, obviously, as possible for that. So that way we're doing a good service to the taxpayer, their dollars that we have in our bank account. So obviously trying to get as much interest rate as we can on that. So obviously thank you to Brett for helping me walk through that process. Obviously making all the introductions that I need to have as I'm meeting individuals from our bank, and then making sure again that we've got all of the proper paperwork on file to make sure that process goes as easy as we can. The next one is something that we've been working on again since first discussed prior to me coming in, but when our previous IT contract was signed, it was signed with a escape clause, if you will, so that if a new trustee was to come in and we wanted to separate for any reason whatsoever, that we had that option to do that. Talking with staff, not just from the township side, but through parks, through fire, it was unanimously agreed that we needed to make a change in the IT world. So we did interview a company that had been interviewed here at the township previously. They come in cheaper than the company we were signed with before, and they're already the work that they're doing for us, just trying to get themselves up to speed, is already paying dividends. And the fact that they're identifying any weaknesses that we might have in our computer systems and what we need to do to button that up. Something else, they're inventorying equipment that we have, and Britt will have a good story for that here in a little bit. But no, it's they're doing everything that we would want from an IT company right now, and they're coming in and they're giving us the attention that we need. We've got a lot going on in this township, and that's not a surprise to anybody sitting in this room. There's a lot going on, and sometimes we're needy. but this is a company that we've been able to talk with. They're confident in their ability to service those needs. And again, they're coming in at a cheaper rate than where we were before, which is always a goal for us, is to get the best bang for our buck.
Do they provide security as well in addition to just services too, or is that through a different,
What do you mean?
like security, like infrastructure security, so that,
Firewalls and all that?
well, that's part of it, but yeah, I mean, beyond it.
Yeah.
So I just see a lot of towns, townships, other entities kind of getting hacked and then held in kind of ransom and that kind of thing, or locking
Yeah.
systems down.
They're a managed service provider, so they do everything.
Okay.
And they, during our interview, we're sitting in the pavilion and they were looking into our server on their cell phone. So they immediately identified
So I
some
asked that question.
gaps,
I asked that question.
which are closed now. Anyone watching, you can't do that anymore.
And that's where we're talking about the immediate vulnerabilities that they were able to identify. Where he says, I can see the computer that's named such and such right now from my cell phone. That's a problem. That shouldn't be acceptable. And so again, these are the things that we're trying to get this stuff tightened down to reduce our exposure in the online world.
One other thing along this is just having saw other people live this too. Just kind of monitoring things from how entities handle phishing and that kind of stuff, so that folks aren't doing that and how that's managed. So I think that there's companies that do that. They may do this as well as doing somewhat of a test to employees to make sure they don't.
Our previous company, I could say, had that.
I'm not great at it.
And I will say I'm the one that clicked on it first because I was unsubscribing. I was unsubscribing something that our previous trustee seemingly had subscribed to, and come to find out it was one of their links, and they got me. So that's why I'll tell them myself. But yeah, no, those.
I didn't know that. I mean,
No, it was no harm, no foul in that particular instance, but it was an educational opportunity for all of us.
Well, I mean, we're all. I mean, it's not a if, it's a when kind of thing. And if we can make that be.
Well, and again, and that's why it's important to have a company who's going to invest the time necessary to make sure that our employees know the proper procedures. We're all trained up to the specific level where we need to be, so that way we're not exposing ourselves inadvertently.
And we also beefed up our cyber security insurance. Because of last year.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily. Yeah, no, I think that's just anymore. We can't be too careful, and municipalities are being targeted, and other entities are being targeted for a multitude of reasons because they underspend on these kind of things, and they're easy targets. And then certainly we can't have a delay in services and what we provide, so it creates a level of anxiety to pay off a ransom faster. You can't tell the fire department, hey, we're not going to pay your. Until we get figured out, it'll be a month or two before you get paid. That's just that doesn't make anybody feel safe.
Right.
So.
The last thing that I had in my report was just in reference to the agenda, kind of describing some of the different things you're going to see on there and the resolutions. I will say that I didn't catch this one until later, but the resolution number 1 and number 5 are directly associated with one another, and I put them at complete and total opposite ends. So keep that in mind as we are going over these resolutions, that those two resolutions probably should have been right next to each other. It snuck past me in this particular case. So keep that in mind. The rest of them should be pretty self-explanatory, but we're going to be here to explain the remainder of this agenda, these resolutions, as we continue.
Okay. Let's see. Next up, we have any old business. So new business is the first resolution 031423-01, the salary resolution change.
One thing that we might circle back to is the update on the transportation
Oh.
as far as the business.
Where are you at?
Sorry. So before we get to the resolutions, still working. I actually talked with Karen just a week ago-ish to figure out what we need to do. So we're trying to get finalized what the graphics are going to be. And then as soon as we get that ironed out, then we're going to be able to get that off to have the vehicle decaled appropriately. And then as soon as Marina was able to send over the, I forget what their document is described at. It's the document they're already using, but it's the writer guide. Thank you. That spells out basically the rules and the regulations of how the system works. So again, just trying to dot our I's, get our T's crossed and all of that. Hopefully, or knock on wood, I'll be able to report that hiring has begun and we'll be able to get that in service sooner than later.
Continuing to see advertising on Facebook for drivers. They haven't secured anyone yet. So
Correct.
I mean, we're not holding anything up
Yeah, and
by any
that's
stretch.
the other side of this is hiring is difficult right now. So
So, yeah, I just wanted to not let that get out of our minds, but like I said, they haven't got anybody to drive it, so we could have it sitting in the parking lot and not get anywhere, so.
I also don't want to be the reason why we're holding it up though either. So if if we can go ahead and get the rest of our end taken care of, then that way as soon as we get somebody hired or they get somebody hired, then we'll be able to push that thing forward. So yeah, we're going to stay on top of it on our end. Certainly not falling off my radar. Didn't really have much new to talk about, which is why it's not on there. But I hope that you'll see it on the agenda here coming up again soon, so that way I can tell you that we are ready to go with it.
Well, Ryan, when you get old, you like to keep thinking about things so you don't completely forget them. So that's why I bring things up occasionally.
Let's go look at the Post-it notes on my desk here in a little bit.
I think they're looking for retirees for drivers.
I don't think so. No, I'm just not saying anybody in particular. I'm just.
All right. Where are we? I'm way out.
Resolution 1.
Resolution 1, salary resolution change. Fritz back.
Hello.
Hello.
These are the salary resolutions that are associated with the job descriptions that you will be approving for subsequent resolutions.
Anybody have any questions on these?
I don't think so.
The new ones are highlighted, so
Yes, thank you for that.
yes. I have no questions. I move we adopt resolution 03-14-23-01, amending salaries of township officers and employees.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Next up is resolution 03-1423-02, transfer of township general cash reserves to rainy day fund.
So we have never established a formal cash reserve for the rainy day fund. We've established it for the healthcare fund and we've established it for the township cash as a whole. But as a rule of thumb, we've always abided by this $855,000 level or so in the rainy day fund. Last year, when we paid off the 2 bonds early, we utilized $465,000 out of the rainy day fund. And so this is an effort to replenish it back up to that $855,000 level. However, as I said, I've looked, Jeff Peters has looked, and Steve has looked, and none of us have official documentation of us establishing a resolution for rainy day cash reserves. So we can move forward with this today if you'd like to go to our rule of thumb level, which is about $855,000, or we can consider revisiting this in May when Jeff Peters comes out and does our 5-year plan with us.
I think I would defer to Steve on your advice.
I see no reason not to do the transfer. I mean, I couldn't remember specifically, but it was for the early payoff on the bonds that we drew upon those reserves.
Yes.
Okay, that's the part that I couldn't remember. Thank you.
So why we change the $855,000?
Isn't that a great question? At some point, Steve and I were trying to kind of piece back our memory of it, and it must have been that when we did a fiscal plan, a 5-year plan back in 18, and that we had established it as that was a good key figure, and we just stuck by it this whole time. Every time it's ever gotten below that, we always replenished it. So Peters asked if I was going to replenish it, and I said sure. And then I realized that we don't actually have
Right.
an official reason for replenishing or what that level should be.
Now, there's no reason why we can't replenish it today and then still identify a level of where we want to be down the road. So if we still want, we can.
That would be my logic
Right.
also.
Okay.
is
That was my next
let's do that at the very minimum and then we can.
There's no appropriations in the rainy day fund this year, so if we did get it to, I'm gonna say higher than maybe Peter thinks we need to, we won't be able to spend it back down without doing an appropriation. But that would be the only thing I want to bring to your attention on that.
And would he have recommendations on how that amount is set? I mean,
Yeah,
I
he
feel,
said he would definitely talk to us about
Okay.
it during the 5-year thing.
because it just seems weird to not say it's,
$55,747.
it's the 47.
That sounds like,
Specific numbers.
Well, I know, it seems like it's for something.
that sounds like an accountant's
Percentage
number,
of
doesn't it?
something.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It's not rounded.
I don't like rounded numbers. I probably wouldn't go with it.
Or if it's, typically these kind of things are, I mean, it's not rainy day, but if you're gonna put something in reserve, put it there for it's a percent of payroll or
Yes.
percent of
That's why,
days
yes,
cash on hand or something.
that's why our healthcare fund is 426,000, and that's supposed to get us through 6 months worth of claims.
I mean, I'm fine with it with the caveat that we need some kind of guidance, so we're doing what's best practice, so.
We're not mandated to have a rainy day cash reserve either. There's no reason that we have to have one.
But it's
It's
prudent,
out there.
yeah, we just need to be what's prudent, what's best for the township.
I do have one question on it says effective this date, and it says transfer of unused and unencumbered funds from the 2023 budget.
Mhm.
Okay, so it is current year funds that were
Yes.
transferred. Okay.
And it's actually, you can transfer up to 15% now. Jeff was pointing that out earlier, but this isn't anywhere near that anyway. So.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone in agreement? All right, I will make a resolution, a motion to approve resolution 031423-02, transferring unencumbered funds to the rainy day fund in the amount of $464,755.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Apparently.
Okay, what's that?
I gotta write this.
Oh. Resolution 031423-03, restore surplus equipment.
So we have this new IT company and they came out to all of our buildings and they looked at every single piece of equipment that we're using. And someone in the parks department in the maintenance barn is using a legacy machine that runs off XP, right?
Oh my.
XP?
XP.
Uh-huh.
So,
Oh.
I guess they were having performance issues with it.
I wonder why.
Shocking.
It's probably all the viruses that were hacking every keystroke.
I don't think it was a network. I don't think it was that connection to the network. Anyway, was there even internet in XP days? Just kidding. So, I'm just
An old person joke?
but you want to take it that way. Anyway, so we had that big stack of laptops that we went ahead and surplused last month, but it turns out that they're all newer than an XP machine,
Shocking.
right? So the new IT company found the one that was in the best condition, and then we've gone ahead and repurposed it, put it out there. So we just need to put it back in stock.
Was this on Windows 10?
Yeah. So Windows 2000. It's Vista. Just gonna name it DOS.
I don't think we've ever restored.
We
surplus
did.
equipment.
Restore something last
Yeah.
year when I don't remember what it was.
You're
So where's the one, are we getting rid of the XP machine? What is that?
It's so inexpensive, it doesn't have to be surplus.
Oh, jeez.
Because incredibly, it doesn't have a value. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Okay.
All right.
We will destroy the hardware for the hard drive. We'll destroy all the old ticker tapes and spit that.
I move we adopt resolution 0314 23-03, restoring surplus equipment.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, resolution 031423-04, Township Employee Handbook Demotion Policy.
Hello again. I won't read word for word what's on there unless you want me to. I'll just give you some highlights of it. Basically, it states that if you're demoted, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, besides turning in all of the rest of your assets that were given to you for that position, you will also turn in your digital assets, which would be your email and your access to the computer. We will issue you new ones. This is just in case we need something from there. You might have access to things that you no longer need access to. Just kind of to keep us in compliance with some of the newer stuff.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 031423-04, updating the demotion policy.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Last up is resolution 031423-05, before and after school care job description.
All right, I sent you all of the job descriptions 2 weeks ago. We've got the youth services director that we'll be adding, which will be in charge of the before and after school program. The youth services director is actually just a title change. So Melissa will be moving from camp and events director to the youth services director. It more accurately reflects what her new position is. And then youth services coordinator would oversee the before and after school program. The club supervisor and the club counselors work directly under her. Or that person.
And the administrative assistant.
That is just the same job. We just made it full-time with the workload that they'll have. We made that position full-time.
Reporting to.
Stephanie and I.
So we did make some changes from the youth services director job description that was in your packet, the one that was on the table when you walked in. There was some copying and pasting issues that weren't taken out before it was signed. So basically, it was just a few little. We noted another program in it that we took out and replaced it with Washington Township Parks. I think there was 3 or 4 of them that
So this
was
is
caught afterwards.
Yeah, that wouldn't change.
And I can point out exactly where they are if you
So that's
or work.
Where it says Carmel, it says Washington.
I wasn't going to say that, but
frustrated I missed that. I want to get those together.
All right, I will.
got you back, buddy.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 031423-05, addition of job classifications for Explorer Extended Care.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, last few things up. Any public comment or wishes to be heard? Okay. Looks like our next meeting is April 20th at 3:00 here, held here as well. Just need a motion to adjourn at 3:44.
So moved.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.